Hello and welcome back to another Vectornator tutorial. My name is Sandra Staub, I'm an illustrator and graphic designer and I live and work in Zurich, Switzerland. Today we have prepared something a little bit different for you. We're going to talk about signature style. I get asked quite a lot from novice illustrators or from a community on Instagram. How did I find my signature style? What is a signature style, etc., etc. And we're going to look at these frequently asked questions first. And then in the second part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you a couple of quick exercises that can give you a better idea of what your signature style could be. So let's first jump into the frequently asked questions. So the first question is, of course, what is a signature style? So, why not? I mean, this is a good and a big question right at the beginning. A signature style for me is a style that makes you as an illustrator stand out from the other illustrators. A style that your followers or even people who are maybe not that familiarized with your style can see and think of like, hey, this is this and that person who made this work. Of course, the more you are familiarized with the work of an illustrator, you will get better at identifying their style. So there's a range of very, very recognizable style up to maybe not so recognizable. And that is actually perfectly fine because it depends a little bit also how you want to position yourself as an illustrator. So this is kind of like one of the first choices that is probably a good idea to make before you obsess too much about this. Like, should I have a signature style or should I not? Because again, I hear it a lot and sometimes I think like, maybe you really don't need one and that's perfectly okay as well. So that brings me to the next question. Do I need a signature style? I would say not necessarily. So it's really important that you maybe kind of like try to picture yourself in the future. Do you see yourself maybe more climbing the ladder in a advertisement agency? Or do you see yourself working from a studio, maybe at home or somewhere else, creating your style and working for brands that resonate with that style? It has helped me a lot understanding why I couldn't recreate any kind of illustrations my clients asked me to do. Because when I was a young and unexperienced illustrator and designer, I thought I had to be able to do anything my clients asked me to do. And then only further down the road, I realized like, no, I'm just really good at doing things in my style. And it kind of like crystallized out of that, kind of like it became clear out of my experience that maybe I was inclining a little bit more towards the side of being an independent illustrator and artist, and then find brands that resonate with my message, with my style, and collaborate with them. But if you are, for example, super versatile and you can do as well line art as you can do almost hyper-realistic illustrations, then maybe you are more on the side of working in a creative agency, for example, because then it's an absolute asset that you are so versatile and that you can make so many different styles. How long did it take you to find your style? I like to respond to this question with two answers, actually. So once I kind of knew what my style could be or what my style was, it took me maybe like 2 or 3 weeks to really develop it and have already a small body of work that was representative to my style. But that was only possible because I was already building on a body of work that lasted almost a decade. Back then, I was working as a graphic designer and as an illustrator for around 8 years. And I had made my fair experiences with illustration clients, with graphic design clients, with my own needs of expression and everything. And I was able to build upon that. So this is why it was in the end so fast. But it did take me actually 8 years to get there at least. And I still don't really think that I have completely defined and finished my style. It is an ongoing process. It is something that you will probably, hopefully, never stop searching for and never stop kind of like making fine-tuning adjustments or something like that. So do not worry too much about how long it's going to take or how long it took me. I think what is very, very important is definitely build upon experience. And in the beginning, I would really urge everyone to just try out everything you're interested in. And I dare say it, yes, copy things of artists that you love. Just please don't publish it and say it's yours. Do it for yourself. Study your idols, study your influences. And it's totally okay to redraw something that you absolutely love about them, only to understand how they did it. The last question that I get a lot, of course, is, and which is why we're here for this tutorial, is how do I find my signature style? And for that, I have prepared a couple of exercises for you. Very simple steps so that this tutorial will not get too overwhelming and that they're very easy to follow. And they're designed to give you a clue how you could find your style, or just to give you a much better idea of what your style could actually be. All right, so let's get to the exercises that I've prepared for you. And I hope that by the end, you will have a bit of a better idea what your style could be or how you can talk about your style. So I created this Venn diagram that you can download from down below. Be sure to get it so you can fill it in alongside me. But yeah, basically I like using Venn diagrams because I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like to organize things in diagrams and lists and anything neat and methodical like that. I just think it's a great way to illustrate that your personal style is curated by all these three elements. One of them is your inspiration. The second part consists of your talents and preferences, and the third part is your personal message. So let's go through each one by one. Try to be introspective, true to yourself, and write what comes to mind. Influences and inspiration. Fill us up with artists that you admire, from classic to contemporary, digital to analog. In my case, I love Matisse, Coralie, Malmade, this is his Instagram handle actually, I don't know his real name, which is totally fine. But it does not have to be a person. I'm also inspired by street art, lettering, and typography, yoga, mindfulness, shamanism, and magic. Why not? Alright, now your preferences refer to what you like doing. But I also want you to consider the reverse of the coin. What do you not enjoy? I think that is absolutely important as well. So, for example, I know that I don't really like drawing perspective, so you'll hardly see that in my drawing. It's amazing for people who do architectural art. I really admire them. But it's just not me. I had to come to peace with that, and as much as I love super intricate illustrations, I know that my style is defined by a lack of perspective. Another thing I don't like is shadows, but I do love line art. I do very minimalistic interpretations of objects, so let's add that in here. And something that I can put here in between inspiration and preferences is traditional American tattoo style. I'm very much in love with it. In my tutorial where I design a tattoo sheet, I go through all the specific artists that influence me, if you want to check that out. The third is the message, and I think this one goes beyond what you are as an illustrator. It's more connected to who you are as a person, what moves you, how do you relate to your family, friends, community, and the world. I think it's vital to have that one in here too. For me, for example, issues of femininity are important, and I like to use the term womanhood here. I'm also really interested in nature and the preservation of it. And that's how these two things are connected actually. So shamanism is somewhere in between inspiration and message. Then there's definitely something about having a purpose and finding your purpose. This brings me to expression as well, like self-expression. Mindfulness can actually be more down here because it's a little bit of both. I'm also going to add peace of mind, self-confidence, and empowerment is also a big one for me. You can just keep filling this up and mix things around. They might have a dual purpose in defining your style. Now that you're finished, you can analyze it in a way that gives you an idea already of what your art is about and what could define your style. Put everything down, don't judge, and just go with the flow. Now that's done, let's jump into the second exercise. So the goal of this exercise is basically to draw a bunch of elements that come to mind when you think of the words that you just picked in the brainstorming session from before. So I have some botanical elements, some alchemist symbols, crystals, and stars. One important thing I would recommend, make it easy. It's just about exploring what you love, what your visual universe is, and bringing that to paper or the software of your choice. Have a little something that you can work with for the next step. Okay, in this step, we're just going to use Vectornator to refine a few of the elements that you created before. So from your Venn diagram and from your cluster of objects you drew on paper, pick something that you feel like you want to explore further. My first pick is nature. Let's write it here in this corner. If you've seen any tutorials of mine, you know that I love using the pencil tool. It's like sketching, but with the advantage of creating vectors. Plus, it feels organic, which I think really matches the theme for this exercise. So I'll take the leaves that I sketched before and I'm just going to draw them again, but a bit more detailed. While also keeping it simple enough, don't go overboard here. This is still an exploration, still an exercise. Sometimes I like filling in some leaves, so let's do that. And add some more wiggly lines. I also make any refinements that I feel are needed with the node tool. And this can be one of many. I can continue expanding with more types of leaves. But nature can also be a moon, which is something that I definitely have quite a lot in my illustrations. Here, I'm applying a quick boolean, adding even more nature elements. Okay, so now the next step I propose would be to look into other artists that approach similar themes and start finding common denominators. Like in this case, line work. So let's do that. I already have here a bunch of different styles of illustrations that are similar but ultimately very different than mine. This can give me a good idea of what else I can incorporate into my motifs. Like, why not make a couple of cool little waves as well? Alright, now let's duplicate it a few times. And then I also saw a plant that goes more like this. So I'm just going to redraw this in my own way. And maybe I feel like copying this, but now I want some of the leaves to be filled in, while some are blank. Adding some texture here would be cool too, in various forms. Okay, let's go back to my inspiration board. As you can see, I introduced these little elements here. Here, I love these geometric shapes and lines, combined with flat graphics. Eyes, themes like magic or occult stuff, snakes, women, and flowers. These are all things that I also listed in my Venn diagram, but of course other artists were motivated by the same archetypes. So now I'm just looking to see what can inspire me and what I can make my own. Really try to focus on the common denominators between what your preferences are and what inspires you. Here I am inspired by the symmetry. I can even add that to my what I like to draw section. Then there is female bodies and hands. So I really encourage you to have an inspiration board just like this at hand. And if you don't have one already, go create it. I use Pinterest like many other artists that I know. This is what describes my universe, and I'm sure you have your own things that define yours. So now if you go back to your Venn diagram, notice how we picked just one of the words that I put down, which was nature. And I tried to explore with the different plants and the moon and so on. Now you can just go back and find another word that you can explore further and do the same exercise again. So for example, it could be yoga or magic or shamanism, and then I go back to my sketchbook or a pixel-based software and then to vectors. But you just go back and start drawing and exploring again the elements that come to mind when you think of that particular word. It can be anything that you feel drawn to. Start exploring your style like that, compared with the work of other artists, and find common denominators.
And I'd say that's a pretty sure way to find yourself as an artist.
All right. Thank you very much for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed this little tutorial together with Vectornator. And please make sure that you follow Vectornator for more interesting tutorials. And if you like my work, follow me at Sandra.Staub. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.